Look at your life honestly. Not the version you post. The real one. The one where too much time has already slipped through your hands. And you still keep living like there's more of it than there is. Maybe that truth bothers you. Good. It should. Because most men do not ruin their lives in one dramatic moment. They do it quietly. They do it daily. They do it by drifting. They wake up tired. They grab the phone. They scroll. They numb out. They say they're figuring things out. They say they're waiting for the right time. And year by year, their edge leaves them. Not because they were incapable, because they got comfortable living below their calling. This video is for the man who can feel that happening, the man who has not completely collapsed, but knows deep down that he is not becoming who he was meant to become. Maybe you still function. Maybe you still work. Maybe people around you think you're doing fine. But when the room gets quiet, you know the truth. You have been entertaining yourself through your own decline. You have been feeding yourself distractions and calling it recovery. And the worst part? The very things you run to for relief are often the things making you weaker. That is the trap. You feel empty, so you reach for stimulation. You feel anxious, so you reach for comfort. You feel behind, so you reach for escape. You feel lonely, so you reach for noise. For a few minutes it helps. Then it leaves you lower than before. Now the emptiness is heavier. The anxiety is louder. The shame is deeper. So you go back again. That is the doom loop. And no, it is not just your phone. It can be alcohol. It can be porn. It can be gambling. It can be fantasy. It can even be self-improvement content that makes you feel productive without requiring change. Anything that briefly soothes you while quietly training you to avoid real life can become a cage. And a lot of men are living in cages now. Clean cages, modern cages, comfortable cages, but cages all the same. You are just slowly becoming a man you do not respect. And that kind of collapse is dangerous because it is easy to tolerate. A man can survive being overwhelmed. What destroys him is getting used to it. He gets used to dull mornings. He gets used to weak discipline. He gets used to saying, "I know," instead of doing what he knows. Then, one day, he looks up and realizes the pain is not just that he failed, it is that he wasted years with full awareness. That kind of regret hits different. Not because life was unfair, not because nobody gave you a chance, because somewhere along the way you were given enough truth to change, and you kept postponing obedience. That is what wrecks men, not ignorance, delay. Not inability, indecision, a pattern of escape. So let's get brutally clear. The problem is not only that modern life distracts you. The deeper problem is that distraction has become your relationship with yourself. You do not confront your weakness, so you hide inside stimulation. You do not build direction, so you rent little hits of relief. That is why so many men feel lost right now. Not because they lack information, because they lack coherence, purpose, and significance. They don't know why their life looks the way it does. They don't know what direction they are moving in. And they don't know who their life is supposed to serve beyond themselves. When a man loses those three things, he does not just become unmotivated, he becomes hollow. He can still smile, still work, still show up, but there is no fire behind it, just movement without meaning. And if that is where you are right now, I am not here to flatter you. I am here to tell you something better than comfort. You are not broken, you are underused. Your life feels heavy because too much of your strength is trapped in passivity. Your mind feels dark because it has been living in artificial light. Your spirit feels dead because you have been trying to feel alive without responsibility. That never works. Men do not come alive through endless consumption. They come alive through burden, service, discipline, and direction. That is why some of your best moments did not come from comfort. They came from effort. They came from carrying something hard. They came from helping someone. They came from doing the thing you did not feel like doing. Think about it. Some of the clearest moments of your life probably were not easy. They were real. A hard conversation, a demanding job, a season where people needed you, a deadline that forced you to lock in, a moment where somebody depended on your strength. Why did those moments matter? Because for a second you were no longer circling yourself, and that is where meaning starts. Meaning does not usually appear when a man is obsessing over how he feels. It appears when he gives himself to something worthy, to duty, to family, to God, to service, to craft, to becoming reliable. That is why the answer to emptiness is not more entertainment. It is responsibility accepted on purpose. Now listen carefully, because this is where most men want a shortcut. They want clarity before movement. They want purpose before discipline. They want certainty before commitment. But that is not how rebuilding works. You do not think your way into a better life first. You act your way into clearer thinking. You build structure. You get your body moving. You reduce the noise. You create friction between yourself and your escapes. That means if your phone is killing your focus, you do not write a poetic journal entry about balance. You move it. You block it. You remove the apps. You stop sleeping beside it. You stop pretending you need access to everything at all times. If alcohol is becoming your off switch, you do not call it taking the edge off. You call it what it is: borrowed relief with interest. If your life has no challenge, you stop asking why you feel dead. You add weight, literally and figuratively. Lift, run, learn a skill, build something with your hands, volunteer where people actually need help. Because boredom is not always a problem to eliminate. Sometimes it is a signal that your life has become too shallow for your design. You are not built to be endlessly amused. You were built to aim, to build, to protect, to endure, to love with backbone, to lead yourself before trying to lead anybody else. And yes, there is grief in this, because if you are waking up now, you may also be realizing how much time is gone. You may be thinking about years you cannot get back, relationships you neglected, strength you abandoned, dreams you delayed, standards you lowered, warnings you ignored. That pain is real, but hear me carefully. Regret can either become a grave or a border. A grave where you bury the rest of your life under shame, or a border you cross, never to live that way again. The man you were 5 years ago may deserve your compassion, but he does not deserve to keep running your life. At some point, self-understanding has to become self-command. At some point, you stop explaining your patterns and start breaking them. At some point, you stop saying, "This is hard for me," and start saying, "This ends with me." That is masculine identity at its healthiest. Not ego, not image, not dominance, ownership. The willingness to say, "I will not let my appetites make my decisions. I will not let my mood decide my standards. I will not let comfort steal my years. I will not die as a half-built man." That is where rebuilding begins. Not with a perfect plan, with a line in the sand, a standard, a refusal. A man becomes dangerous to his old life when he stops negotiating with it. So here is what I want you to do after this video. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, today. Write down 3 things. First, What loop am I in right now that is making my life smaller? Be honest. Name the loop. Scrolling, drinking, avoidance, excuses, late nights, isolation, fantasy, laziness disguised as confusion. Second, what is one hard, real action I can take in the next 24 hours that interrupts that loop? Not a grand reinvention, one concrete act. Delete the app, make the call, go to the gym, wake up early, clean the room, apply for the job, apologize, sign up, serve, read for 30 minutes instead of scrolling for 3 hours. Third, who does my life need to matter to besides me? Because significance changes behavior. A man acts differently when he remembers that his life is not just about his own comfort. Maybe it is your wife, your future children, your team, your community, the people God put in your path, the younger version of you who once believed you would become more than this. You do not need a motivational high. You need alignment. You need your habits to match the man you claim you want to become. And that will not happen through inspiration alone. It will happen through repetition, through constraint, through honesty, through daily acts that look small until they become identity. One day you wake up earlier. One day you stop escaping. One day you choose the hard thing again. One day you serve instead of sulk. One day you carry yourself with order. One day becomes a week becomes a month becomes evidence, and evidence is powerful. Because once a man has evidence that he can trust himself again, hope stops being fantasy. It becomes momentum. So no, it is not too late, but it is later than you think. And that is exactly why you cannot keep playing with your life. There is still time to become the man you were meant to be, but there is not time for another year of pretending, not another year of numbing, not another year of rehearsing change without living it. Get out of the loop. Touch real life again. Do hard things on purpose. Serve somebody. Build structure, honor God, tell the truth, carry weight, become reliable. And when regret tries to speak, let it say one thing only: never again. The rest of your life will be shaped by what you do with this moment, so decide, not whether you want a better life, whether you are finally ready to live like it matters.